Welcome back to PHP tutorials. Last time, what we did is we set up your database in phpMyAdmin. We also set up your domain to be able to work with this stuff here. We made a very simple form and program that just collects a person's first name and an email address and lets it know who sent it. And we have a basic HTML, which I did beforehand, we didn't do together. We did some JavaScript to call a PHP function through Ajax. And then we have our PHP function here that actually doesn't do anything. It just echoes back the first name of the person, so that we know something is actually going on. Now this isn't very useful yet because what we really need to do is insert it into a database. So let's do that. Now PHP also works with a language called SQL, which I'm going to copy a little bit of here. I'm also getting rid of all the white space. PHP gets really cranky with white space. You want to just make sure that you're diligent in getting rid of it. Looks like there's one at the end here. Yeah, see, there's two. It'll actually throw an error. It's really annoying. Alright, so we have in our connection, we've tried to connect to our database. We've selected our primary database. Now we can actually do stuff to it. So SQL is very simple. It all makes sense. They have get types of requests. They have insert requests. It's pretty straightforward to use. I'm not going to do a full tutorial of it. You can literally Google almost anything you want to do with it. It's very easy. In this case, we're going to insert values. So we're going to insert into, and this is where we want to type the name of the database. In our case, it's coding tests. Coding tests. Okay. Now I can do a couple things here. If you want to only specify certain fields, for example, our coding tests has 4 fields, index, which is on auto increment, if you remember, which means we don't actually need to specify it. It'll always just add one. First name, email, and sender. You can actually specify that here by doing parentheses and then doing the backtick, which is in the top left of your keyboard. And typing the name exactly how it appears, separated by commas. Okay. All right, now what we need to do is we need to put in the values to that stuff. And the way that we do that is pretty similar. We start with a parentheses and we do, I think it's single quotes. Yeah. Single quotes. So we need to actually do some string addition here. So we need to do single quote, and then to do string addition in PHP, you use a period. So we're going to do single quote. What we want to add for first name is our variable first name, period to continue, end single quote. Now we need a comma to separate it, single quote, end the string, period. This should be our email variable, string, single quote, comma, space, single quote. Okay, this seems tedious and annoying. It actually really is annoying. But the downside about PHP is it's just really hard to edit, in all honesty. It's a nightmare to edit. So you want to try to just save yourself as much trouble as humanly possible. But as long as you have, it should look very similar to this. Right, so we have a first name, an email, and a person, and it's enclosed in parentheses. As long as you have that, you should be good to go. Right, so that's going to be our SQL. Then we actually need to execute it. MySQL query upload, that's this. Or die, which means if it was uploading it but an error occurred, it will throw an error. And finally, it'll echo back success, and we're still echoing, or we're still logging that echo. Remember, echo will throw into this callback function in Ajax, whatever it did. So if the query was successful, we should see success here. All right. Let's go ahead and upload this and see what happens. Give me 1 sec. Uploaded it. We're going to go ahead and refresh. Let's open up our console here. All right. So I'm going to type in my name, my email, and I'll say that I sent it. Oh, looks like we had an error. See, this is the thing with the error testing. It's basically annoying. It's so awful. I'm going to pause while I figure it out. 1 sec. It's kind of a silly thing, but again, this is why PHP can be a nightmare. So every server in PHP has reserved words. One of those is tests. So when you want to use like a reserved word in your table, which you shouldn't do, by the way, but if you need to, and you just put these backticks around it, that means that stops checking for the reserved word. So we just need to do that, and then we can save it and upload it, and go ahead and check it out. Enter in some data here, and we hit submit, and sweet, we get success. Now we do want to make sure that it is actually working, so let's go to our table and browse and check out the entries. And sure enough, it is indeed working the way that we want it to. So that's fantastic. All right, you can use that basic format to add any amount of data to any table that you want in any product that you make. So there you go. The other piece is getting it out of the PHP database. So let's go ahead and try to do that. We're gonna get rid of this stuff here. Actually, we can just get rid of this first line. The last 2 lines are really the same thing. But what we do need to do is we need to make a new SQL query. And let's call it download instead of upload, because we're not actually uploading here. We're trying to get stuff, right? All right. So what are we doing? We need to do what's called a select statement. So we do select from, and here we're going to use those backticks again. Now we can actually end the statement right here, select from coding tests. This will get every single entry in the table. Now that's rarely what you want to do, but it is occasionally useful. Generally speaking, though, when people use select, they use select from something where, and then you do a condition. So you could say where the email is blah, 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 where the user's username is blah, 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 and it'll just select those values. You can Google how to do that. It's very straightforward. Everything that follows what we're about to do is identical for that. It's just you're working with different data. Because we only have 3 entries, though, we're just going to stick to getting everything. Now you can't actually console log this stuff because it's in what's called an associative array. And you need to do something else to it, which I'm going to grab for you right now. So give me 1 sec. Arrange this real quick. We're going to give this a variable. So we'll say query equals. I'm going to go ahead and dump that error reporting. So here's our query. Now what we need to do is we need to actually loop through the array that this gives back, and it's actually an associative array. So you do need to do something a little fancy with it. Alright, so we're going to use a while loop. While row is MySQL. I actually don't really know how this works. It's basically just turns this query into an associated array, which is basically just an object. Okay, so while that is this. Now you can do whatever you want to each row. This is going to turn each one of these rows into an object with properties index, first name, email, and sender. So let's just pretend we wanted to echo back the email of everyone in the table. We could say echo row email. That's capital E. Make sure you're case sensitive here. Okay, so that should work. Let's go ahead and upload it. Well, I guess you just hit the submit button, don't you, to get the data out. So yeah, that's all we'll do. Ooh, Looks like that messed up. Hold on. Are there? Isn't that annoying? It's annoying. All right, let's go ahead and upload. Here we go. All right, so there we go. We echoed every email right back to JavaScript. That's fancy. But what if we wanted to do something more useful? Let's say return it as an array. You know, this is just one big string. We could actually, if we wanted to, we could return it as like a comma separated value string and then parse it in our JavaScript. But we don't need to do that. That's kind of lazy. Let's return it as an array. So here's how we do that. Declare an array. So let's just call it. We'll call it rows, and that's going to be equal to an array. All right. So now rows is an array, and what we can do is we can set items into that array like this. So we can say add items into the rows array as follows. Then finally, when we're done, we could echo that rows array. Let's hope it works. I don't know. Go ahead and upload. Code this. So this is in PHP. We need to encode it as JavaScript object notation, like this, to turn it into an array for JavaScript. Otherwise, it won't really work. Okay, let's upload. What happens? There we go. All right, so what we've done here is we've asked the PHP function to make a call to our database, get back all the rows, and then it piped their emails into an array that it converted to a JavaScript array that we could now work with in our own JavaScript. For example, if we did this, console log data, we could actually write a for loop that runs through data. Right, we could say console.log data and I. We could write a for loop that runs all the way through it. Check that out. Pretty sweet. That actually ran through. That actually ran through the entire string. That's probably not quite what we wanted to do, but the point is, it's definitely in array form, and we could. There are jQuery functions that take JavaScript JSON and turn it into a JavaScript array, and then we can do this. But that's, you know, we don't need to worry about that now. You can very easily Google them. But yeah, that's it. So what we're able to do here is we showed you how to input items into a table. We showed you how to get items out of a table and then kind of convert them a little bit to do some work. You know, you could take the first entry in the array and put it on a label on the screen. You could do a lot of good stuff now that you have these basic skills down. If you want, I'll do a slightly more advanced tutorial about how to do some, I guess, fancier footwork with this stuff. But that'll be all for now. So let me know if you have questions, and I hope you enjoyed. Bye.